So let me be the guy. You posted a meme on Twitter recently where there's like a row of urinals. A guy just walks all the way across.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And he tells you about crypto.
I mean, that's happened to me so many times. I think maybe even literally.
Yeah. Do you think, technologically speaking, there's any room for ideas of smart contracts or so on? Because you mentioned laws. That's an interesting use of things like smart contracts to implement the laws by which governments function. Like something built on Ethereum, or maybe a dog coin that enables smart contracts somehow.
I don't quite understand this whole smart contract thing. I mean,
so
I'm too dumb to understand smart contracts.
That's a good line.
I mean, my general approach to any kind of like deal or whatever is just make sure there's clarity of understanding. That's the most important thing.
Right.
And just keep any kind of deal very, very short and simple, plain language, and just make sure everyone understands this is the deal. Is it clear? And what are the consequences if various things don't happen? But usually deals are, business deals or whatever are way too long and complex and overly lawyered and pointlessly.
You mentioned that Doge is the people's coin.
Yeah.
And you said that you were literally SpaceX may consider literally putting a Doge coin on the moon. Is this something you're still considering? Mars, perhaps? Do you think there's some chance, we've talked about political systems on Mars, that Dogecoin is the official currency of Mars at some point in the future?
Well, I think Mars itself will need to have a different currency because you can't synchronize due to speed of light. Or not easily.
So it must be completely standalone from Earth.
Well, yeah, because the Mars is at closest approach, it's 4 light minutes away roughly, and then at furthest approach, it's roughly 20 light minutes away, maybe a little more. So you can't really have something synchronizing. If you've got a 20-minute speed of light issue, if it's got a 1-minute blockchain, it's not going to synchronize properly. So Mars would. I don't know if Mars would have a cryptocurrency as a thing, but probably seems likely. But it would be some kind of localized thing on Mars.
And you let the people decide.
Yeah, absolutely. The future of Mars should be up to the Martians. So I mean, I think the cryptocurrency thing is an interesting approach to reducing the error in the database that is called money. I think I have a pretty deep understanding of what money actually is on a practical day-to-day basis because of PayPal. We really got in deep there. And right now, the money system, actually, for practical purposes, is really a bunch of heterogeneous mainframes running old COBOL.
Okay, you mean literally? That's
literally.
That's literally what's happening
in batch mode. Okay.
In batch mode.
Yeah, I pity the poor bastards who have to maintain that code. Okay, that's a pain. That's pain.
Not even Fortran. It's COBOL. Yep,
it's COBOL. And the banks are still buying mainframes in 2021 and running ancient COBOL code. The Federal Reserve is like probably even older than what the banks have, and they have an old COBOL mainframe. And so now, so the government effectively has editing privileges on the money database, and they use those editing privileges to make more money whenever they want, and this increases the error in the database that is money. So I think money should really be viewed through the lens of information theory, and so it's kind of like an internet connection. Like, what's the bandwidth? Total bit rate. What is the latency, jitter, packet drop? Errors in the network communication. Just think of money like that, basically. I think that's probably the right way to think of it. And then say what system, from an information theory standpoint, allows an economy to function the best, and crypto is an attempt to reduce the error in money that is contributed by governments diluting the money supply as basically a pernicious form of taxation.
So both policy in terms of with inflation and actual like technological cobalt, like cryptocurrency takes us into the 21st century in terms of the actual systems that allow you to do the transaction, to store wealth, all those kinds of things.
Like I said, just think of money as information. People often will think of money as having power in and of itself. It does not. Money is information, and it does not have power in and of itself. Again, applying the physics tools of thinking about things in the limit is helpful. If you are stranded on a tropical island, and you have $1 trillion, it's useless because there's no resource allocation. Money is a database for resource allocation, but there's no resources to allocate except yourself. So money is useless. If you're stranded on a desert island with no food, all the Bitcoin in the world will not stop you from starving.
Yeah.
So, like just think of money as a database for resource allocation across time and space, and then what system it is, in what form should that database or data system, what would be most effective? Now, there is a fundamental issue with say Bitcoin in its current form, in that the transaction volume is very limited, and the latency the latency for a properly confirmed transaction is too long, much longer than you'd like. So it's actually not great from a transaction volume standpoint or a latency standpoint. So it is perhaps useful as to solve an aspect of the money database problem, which is this sort of store of wealth or an accounting of relative obligations, I suppose. But it is not useful as a currency, as a day-to-day currency.
But people have proposed different technological solutions,
like Lightning.
Lightning Network and the layer 2 technologies on top of that. I mean, it seems to be all kind of a trade-off, but the point is, it's kind of brilliant to say that just think about information, think about what kind of database, what kind of infrastructure enables that exchange of information.
You're operating an economy, and you need to have something that allows for the to have efficient value ratios between products and services. So you got this massive number of products and services, and you can't just barter. It's like that would be extremely unwieldy. So you need something that gives you a ratio of exchange between goods and services, and then something that allows you to shift obligations across time, like debt and equity, shift obligations across time. Then what does the best job of that? Part of the reason why I think there's some merit to Dogecoin, even though it was obviously created as a joke, is that it actually does have a much higher transaction volume capability than Bitcoin, and the cost of doing a transaction, the Dogecoin fee is very low. Like right now, if you want to do a Bitcoin transaction, the price of doing that transaction is very high, so you could not use it effectively for most things. And nor could it even scale to a high volume. And when Bitcoin was started, I guess around 2008 or something like that, the internet connections were much worse than they are today, like order of magnitude I mean, there's the way worse, in 2008. So like having a small block size or whatever is, and a long synchronization time made sense in 2008. But to 2021 or fast forward 10 years, it's like comically low. It's and I think there's some value to having a linear increase in the amount of currency that is generated. So because some amount of the currency, if a currency is too deflationary, or should say if a currency is expected to increase in value over time, there's reluctance to spend it. Because you're like, I'll just hold it and not spend it because its scarcity is increasing with time. So if I spend it now, then I will regret spending it. So I will just, hodl it. Mm-hmm. But if there's some dilution of the currency occurring over time, that's more of an incentive to use it as a currency. So Dogecoin, somewhat randomly, has just a fixed number of sort of coins or hash strings that are generated every year. So there's some inflation, but it's not a percentage base. It's a fixed number. So the percentage of inflation will necessarily decline over time. So I'm not saying that it's like the ideal system for a currency, but I think it actually is just fundamentally better than anything else I've seen, just by accident.